Hi there, boys and girls. It's another tale from the broom cupboard. What I'd like to talk about tonight is weather. Now, I live in Northern Ireland now, and everyone says that the weather in England is a lot better than Northern Ireland. I don't quite see that. Um, what it seems to be is that in the winter, the weather here is slightly warmer than in England, shall we say, and in the summer, it's slightly cooler. Not cold, just slightly cooler, a few degrees here and there, hardly enough to notice. Basically, it's a maritime climate, the same as the rest of the UK, and you get some rain and that. And sure, we get rain. It's not called the Emerald Isle for nothing, but most of the rain seems to come in the night time. So, thank you very much. Just ignore it. Pitter patter on the roof, send you to sleep very nicely. I don't need trouble sleeping at all. I can always nod off. In fact, I have what I call power naps. My wife can't do that, and I say it's because I'm pure of mind, body, and soul. Well, you make your mind up about that as well. Yeah, well, years ago in England, I can remember the weather 1947 that was, and it was really, really cold, potatoes. Oh. And of course, in them days, we didn't have these nice padded jackets like I've got this vest here. Nothing like that. No snow boots to keep your feet nice and warm. Nothing like that. A pair of wellies if you're lucky, and they're useless at keeping your feet warm. In fact, they more or less conduct the cold through, and you end up with frostbite in your toes if you're not careful. I can remember we used to go home sort of lunchtime-ish, with no lunch there, but my mother was cooking us cabbage for dinner that evening, and she gave us a drink of cabbage water. Tasted like cabbage. It was hot, warmed your stomach up. Don't suppose it filled it very much, but it sort of you felt better for it. And of course, it was probably full of vitamins. Probably most of the vitamins in the cabbage were in the water. In them days, used to boil cabbage until it was basically non-existent. But yeah, so that's the way it was. And I can remember in the early 50s, I think it was, there was a strip of water that came in off the, it was called the Eastney Lake. It was part of the water inside Langton Harbour, but it came round a bit and it froze completely, absolutely about 2 foot thick, the ice, believe it or not. And trapped in the ice were literally hundreds of small conger eels, all about that long, about that thick, shall we say. That long, about that thick. And a lot of the locals would go on with axes and whatever, chipping away at the ice to get to these conger eels, which were obviously frozen dead, take them out, take away to make a meal of them. My mother didn't want any of these because she didn't like the sound of eels. I suppose a lot of people don't, but it's a big thing on the east end of London, I understand, jellied eels, so some people must like them. I never actually tasted one, so I can't tell you that, but that was the way things were. Of course, on the other hand, we had some really hot weather at times in the summer. I mean, I can remember as a 4-year-old wandering around in shorts and been so tanned, people thought I must have come from Africa or somewhere. And playing around in the salt water, the sea, up to me waist in water. Think nothing of it. Had a great time wandering around the mud flats. Yeah, life is fun when you just step back a bit and just enjoy it. A lot of people seem to think that you have to spend a lot of money to have fun. You don't. You just have to open your mind, basically. See what the beauty of things that are out there, the nature and everything. I mean, I was well into nature. Collected butterflies, birds' eggs, had a load of nature books, went to the library 3 or 4 times a week and got one out. I read about 3 or 4 books a week, by the way, novels and that, things like that. Big into historical novels, historical fiction, really. Basically, the basic background was historically correct, but the actual drama was made up. But good fun, and you could borrow these books on nature and that, and learn quite a lot. And of course, you was handling animals and insects, picking up a slow worm, a lizard, picking that up, or any insects, just look at them, multicolored ones, and this, that, and the other, and wonder what they were and what their names were. And you were learning. You didn't realise you were learning. It wasn't like going to school. Probably the best way of learning, I think, doing it outside. I mean, people these days, they don't realise that physics, for instance, physical sciences, it's basically what the humans, authors, have made of what's actually happening out there. It isn't some strange and wonderful thing that's related just to books and dusty old tombs. No. It's like people go on about glaciers melting quicker than they've ever done. Well, of course they bloody well do. If you go to school and you learn about latent heat, you realise that. But what you've got to do in practice, you watch your snowman after Christmas. Starts off, melts very slowly. As it gets more and more gone, it melts quicker and quicker and quicker until the last bit goes, it's gone. And that's because less ice requires less heat to melt it. Simple, really, but you won't find scientists telling you this when they talk about climate warming, will they? No. You can tell I'm an old cynic, but I won't go into this because it might cause a lot of hassle and people are going to say, oh, you don't believe in global warming. I do, but they don't necessarily mean it's been going the way that scientists say. They're all paid to do this, that, and the other, and they don't agree with something, they don't get any funding. Simple. Money talks. Always has, always will, and nothing's going to ever change it. Anyway, I'll leave you now, and take care out there and behave.